After a lunch break and the obligatory visit to a papyrus museum, we headed to Abu Rawash, the site of a pyramid attributed to Djedefre, or Djedefre, son of Khufu. It's not open to the public and requires special permissions, aka payment to the government, so we were escorted by several police officials as well as an open-bed pickup truck full of individuals with machine guns. The first thing you'll notice is the large vertical shaft in the center of the structure, and then the descending ramp on the northern face. Also take note of the enclosure wall. That feature does not remain on any of the pyramids at the Giza Plateau. On the eastern side, we see remnants of possible temples and the so-called boat pit. On the western side, we see what looks like 3 sand-covered satellite pyramids and then 2 smaller vertical shafts. We weren't allowed to explore this area, so nothing can be verified. This is often referred to as the most northern pyramid, but as you can see, the ruins labeled as Lepsius I are very close by. If I hadn't seen these ruins with my own eyes, I would just assume this entire area was one large gravel pit. Another interesting aspect is that each adjacent pyramid is always within line of sight. Case in point, that's the Giza Plateau in the distance. Approaching from the south, the first thing we see is the boat pit. I assume those short rubble walls were later additions. Then there's this intriguing artifact. It's a slab of granite with 2 axes of concavity. So imagine cutting a cove top to bottom and then a secondary cove from left to right. The core block construction here is similar to what we saw at the Great Pyramid. Double stacked blocks within the same course as larger single blocks. Though we see a new feature, the vertical face of that large block is not flush with the double rows. The large vertical shaft and descending ramp were carved directly into the bedrock. And while it doesn't look like much, this is a 22-degree slope. My footing slipped several times, and I came close to a full-on digger. We can see that the sides of the ramp, as well as the interior walls of the center chamber, were at one time lined with cut stones. However, any flooring material has long been ripped up and quarried.
I suspect that they excavated bedrock for this, when they excavated this, they probably used it to build the pyramid. And then it's probably, some of it you may have seen on the surface on the move blocks, but most of it has probably been scavenged and removed.
Directly below where Dr. Shock was standing is this vertical shaft, very reminiscent of the well shaft within the Great Pyramid. At the bottom of this main chamber, I saw more evidence of tunnels or shafts. And take a closer look at the rock this guy is standing on. It's carved with concentric rings. At the top of this bedrock cut pit, you can see how the stones were being stepped in or corbelled, as well as the OSHA-approved massive man-killing block retention system. As we exited the site, I was able to further examine some of the exterior core blocks. Here we have an extensive vertical seam, and then more examples of just piecing in with smaller blocks as necessary. This is all that remains of the temple walls on the eastern side of the pyramid, much lower quality than the actual pyramid. This appears to be some sort of water management or drainage channel. And then signs of quarrying as people were dismantling the pyramid. Multiple sources say hundreds of stones were taken off this site each day for the building of Cairo. It's worth noting that some people believe this site was never finished, while others believe it was finished, but either destroyed by a catastrophic event or an internal explosion. A third theory is that it was an open-air observatory, so what we see is similar to what it was, minus all the casing stones. Considering the ruinous state, I'm not sure how you could lean in any direction. All 3 assumptions seem equally viable.